Joining me now on this special episode of Locally Sourced CP is the one and only Mr. Joe Rubinstein. Sir, thank you so much for
One,
joining.
one and only by law.
Yes, one and only. Yes, yes, sir. Thank you for joining me today. I am honored to have you on my little tiny video podcast. I'm excited to have you on, chat with you a tiny, tiny little bit.
Tiny, tiny. It's like a baby doctor. It's like a little doctor. Okay.
For sure, for sure.
Okay.
I want to have you on, talk to you a little about, your career and just kind of preview you. You'll be joining us September 6th through the 8th here in El Paso for Soldier Con at the Starlight Event Center. I'm one of many here in El Paso who are super excited to have you come to El Paso and visit and be able to visit with you and get some stuff signed by you too as well. And it's gonna be exciting. How you doing tonight?
I do a lot of conventions. I come home for 3 days and I leave again. It's tiring.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. I've been working in and around the local cons here in El Paso for a while, and I get to talk with celebrities and the artists once in a while, and they say the same thing that it's very exciting, but it's also very tiring because of the
Well,
schedule.
the people who travel for a living, those who don't travel for a living think it's so much exciting and you get to see this and you get to see that. And those of us who travel for a living find it a tremendous pain in the ass because it's getting up and going and waiting and being crowded and having flights that are canceled or delayed, or you have 30 minutes to run to a connection, or it's a lot. I mean, twice I was flown to Kuwait, and that's business class, and I don't know what that costs, and I don't think I want to. But then the great invention of horizontal comes into play, and I get to lay down and sleep, and my own little booth area, and it's oddly enough that part of the plane shows up in the same spot as the cheap seats,
Right.
but you get cloth tablecloths and actual silverware. So.
Well, I mean, Mr. Rubinstein, you've done so
You
much.
can you can call me Joe.
Joe, oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Joe,
Sure.
I know you've been in the industry a very long time. Your work is iconic to us who cherish it. I even had to steal I had to steal a Wolverine shirt from my daughter this evening because I couldn't find one of mine. So just wanted to pay a little homage.
That's what they're there for.
Talk a little bit about talk a little bit about your career and how you kind of got started, if you want to just, talk a little bit about that.
Um, I emigrated from Israel when I was 5, primarily because I wanted to still be with my family. And my older cousin had Superman family comics, and since I couldn't speak the language or read it, I guess I became enamored of the pictures because they made sense. And like little kids often do, I took crayons and lined paper and made my own comic books. And I was living in New York City. And then at age 11, I started to go to the Art Students League of New York. 13, I wound up working at Dick Giordano and Neil Adams' studio as a gopher, sweeping, making coffee. When I was 15, I became the art assistant to Dick, as well as Russ Heath and Wally Wood, and I helped out Bob McLeod and Klaus Janson. And then when I was 17, I got my first job for DC, which was appropriately enough called Tales of the Great Disaster with Mike Nasser, which was his first job. And then when I was 19, I got my first job at Marvel, which was the Avengers 2-in-1 annual with Jim Starlin, which wound up becoming the latest Avengers movies. So while it seemed an awful long time, it was 6 years from starting to go to art school to starting to work professionally.
That's amazing. I mean, the comics that you have worked on are iconic. Your name is iconic, especially in the realm. Like I said, I've been trying to not fanboy over you because I was like, oh my gosh, especially from start to get from emailing you the first time and then your response and getting you on. I'm just so super excited again. Like I
I'll,
said,
I'll
to
tell
have
you
you on.
I'll tell you the absolute truth. People say to me, "Oh, I've been looking at your stuff since." Well, firstly, I really don't like it when big fat bald guys with white beards come up to me and go, "I've been reading your stuff since I was a kid." Okay. But but beyond that, I didn't know anybody was paying attention. I knew that people were paying attention to Jim Starlin or John Byrne or John Buscema, but I thought people just didn't, except for like 6 guys who wanted to be inkers. I didn't know anybody was paying attention to the inker.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't know at the time was, see, to me, Marvel Comics was Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott, and that look of Marvel Comics is Joe Sinnott, Jack Kirby. So I've been informed, I didn't know this because I was in the middle of it, that the look of Marvel Comics in the 80s were Klaus Janson, Terry Austin, and me. But I didn't know that. I mean, I was just doing a lot of work, and we were all doing a lot of work. It's sort of like, you know, all those magnificent comics that were done, like Watchmen and Swamp Thing and Dark Knight and all that stuff. They were fantastic. But we all just assumed good work should be done. We didn't realize what a peak that was in the creative process and quality, and which is not to say there isn't great stuff being done today, but I mean, as a general group, wow, Watchmen, Swamp Thing, you know, Captain America, all that stuff. So yeah, you know, you just do the work. And I guess, since you keep saying it, my work was iconic, but it's, you know, I did the first appearance of Gambit because he happened to be in a 6-issue run I was doing. I'm grateful and I'm lucky because he's hot stuff. And Miller came up, who's a good friend of mine. He came and I started in 1975 when I was 17. Mm-hmm. So prior to the internet and prior to email and FedEx, you had to deliver your pages directly. Or you sent your spouse in, or, you know, you drove in from Connecticut because you couldn't trust the mail. So consequently, we all knew each other. We all saw each other one way or the other up at the offices. A real hub for the new interesting artists at the time was Continuity Associates. So people like Bernie Wrightson or Jeff Jones or Kaluta or whoever would drop off their pages and go, I think I'll go over to Continuity Associates and hang out for a while. So we all kind of knew each other. And Frank was this skinny kid from Vermont. Mm-hmm. And I, by the way, I used to buy Frank lunches. So any of you out there who are big Frank Miller fans, you owe me.
Yeah.
Something white on the bottom of the screen. I'm trying to figure out what they. Oh, I know.
Nah, no problem.
Okay, good. That's better. Okay, so I was at a rare party, I think in Brooklyn, and Jim Starlin, who I kind of sort of maybe knew a little, walked up to me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this Avengers annual. You want to ink it?" I go, "Yeah." and what I didn't know was it's a 2-parter, and went off to the 2-in-1 annual. And I mean, it's not that I wasn't excited to ink Jim's work, but I knew that as a entree into Marvel, I'd get to ink John Buscema, hopefully, and Gene Colan and Gil Kane and all those other people that I've been lusting after to work with. So, you know, it was as simple a thing as, you want to do it? Yeah. You know, and Miller walked up to me at Marvel when I guess I must have been there for delivering pages or something. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, we're doing this new book about Wolverine. It's a mini series. You want to do it?" And I go, "Yeah, okay." You know, you know, there are decisions, I guess, at least for me, I assume in the human condition, there are decisions you make which seem very casual and wind up being quite influential for the rest of your life. And, you know, I'm very happy to be associated with Wolverine because he's cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm associated with Thanos because of the 2-in-1 annual and Infinity Gauntlet. And I'm associated with Gambit because of the issue I did. I worked on the Avengers Annual 10 that introduced, I think, Rogue to the world. I inked the first issue, half of the first issue of Firestorm. And I think maybe I was the first artist on Elektra because Frank sent me this piece to ink. And it was Daredevil and this woman I'd never seen before. And I didn't understand how her wrapping on her arms worked. So I called up Frank to explain it to me. So obviously she had never been published anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Klaus had gotten pages to do yet, or I was the first one. You know, and plus I think I was also the first artist on Apocalypse. So, you know, it's happenstance, it's luck. Mm-hmm. but you could also say, because of the quality I produced, that's why they asked me to do these books. That
Yes.
happens to be luck.
It's like I mean, like anything else, you put so much pride in your work, you'll get that reward. Or and like people notice, and then I mean, you just got, it's like anything else, you work hard at something, you get really good at it, and people want to use you for whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I think the other secret is enjoy your work,
Mm,
because if you don't enjoy it, you probably won't be doing a good job. Um, and I tried to make it as good as I could every single time, because I feel a responsibility to the penciler, the guy or girl or woman did something and handed it to me, and in effect said, "Don't hurt my baby." I mean, it's like, I
yeah.
worked this hard. Can I please have something I like when it's over? So I feel the responsibility to the penciler, and I also, I spend a lot of times, as most artists do, a lot of times alone in this room. Not this room, but they have their own rooms,
Mhm.
and you'd like to have something to do, to be proud of when you're done.
Right.
Like, sure, I mean, there's sometimes you got to ink 5 pages overnight, and they're not the best quality, but they want them in. Sometimes you get some horrible pencils to fix, and you can fix them, but then really what you wound up with is a polished turd. I mean, it's like you can do just so much, you
Yeah.
know. But so I want to do stuff that is a reason I've missed holidays and weekends and summers, and and have something to point to. So
Yeah, that's I mean, with that, I mean, it's a good rule of thumb. Like, I mean, just as long as you work hard, enjoy your work, you're gonna have the good quality. It's like I do I create I do videos and video production and photography, and I love it, and I love being creative. And I mean, if I didn't love it and put my best work forward, either no one either hire
mhm.
me or use me. I kind of I get in a sense, I understand what you're saying, but like, I mean, like I said, you're way you're basically like a role model to everyone, that you got to enjoy your craft, you got to enjoy it, and work hard at it.
Here's the historical footnote. The rule of thumb is how thick a stick could be, so that when you beat your wife, it was legal. If it was any thicker than your thumb, then it was abuse. But if you hit her with this thing, it was okay. So, and your children, I assume. So yes, some things have changed and some things have definitely not. So
No, I mean, it's so cool. Like, I'll be honest, I doing research and doing some research on you and my homework on, uh, I'll be honest, X-Men, the 266 with Gambit is probably one
right,
of my favorite comics. I have 3 copies of it. Hopefully I could see you that September at Soldier Con and get it CGC'd and
right,
signed by
right.
you. It'd be great.
It,
And and it's just like like your work is so amazing. I've said ever since, even I enjoyed it even more now that I've been doing my research and homework on you
thanks.
before.
If I show this label, you think I can get a free case sent to me?
Maybe.
Okay,
Or
okay,
if you want,
okay.
I'll send you one.
That's okay. I've discovered this in Texas, and it is most definitely my favorite, because sometimes the bubbles are so strong they hurt, and it's like, Perrier is like you don't even know it's there.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yeah, those are
well,
cool.
that's another example. It's like I had done Cockrum's second run on the X-Men,
Hmm.
and Dave was a very very nice man, and he loved comic books and loved what he did. And if you look at Dave's run of the X-Men, there's some humor thrown in. There's Kitty Pryde's fairy tale, and all the little Bamps, which are the Muppet nerd night crawlers. Um, but so when I left that, they called me up occasionally to do a sporadic issue, and Bob Harris, the editor, called up and said, "You want to do 6 issues of the X-Men?" I go, "Yeah, okay." I was doing the Justice League at the time with Adam Hughes, so I was doing a group book, and then they wanted me to do another group book. So he said, "The first one's late." I said, "Of course it's late. It's always late." So I do the thing, I hand it in, and then he calls me up after a couple of days and said, "Well, where's some more pages?" I went, "What do you mean? I just finished." And he says, "I didn't tell you it was a bi-weekly?" I go, "No." you know. So now I have to do 2 issues of the X-Men in 1 month and 1 issue of the Justice League. So I'm doing 3 group books for 2 months.
Ooh.
And as a matter of fact, there was so much work that they had 2 different pencilers on the X-Men, but I was the one inker. And so, Gambit shows up. He's a guy with a long coat and a big stick, and he throws things. And it's like, yeah, nobody's ever going to see this guy again. It's like, just use me as a gauge for what not to do and go against what I say. But I'm told the reason it became a big deal was because he was on the Saturday cartoons.
Yeah.
So that brought him to the forefront.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah.
that's where I discovered him on the X-Men animated series in the 90s and the late 90s, and then I
Right.
did my research and backtracked and got his comics. But it's been a crazy ride. I mean, I was gonna ask, how different has it been, especially with have you noticed a difference or an increase on like more of your Wolverine things at the cons you've been to since Deadpool Wolverine's come out, or what have you what's changed
Well,
since like
no,
the
it's been pretty consistent
Mhm.
with Wolverine. I mean, I have this, memory is very plastic. You can remember whatever you want to remember, even if it never happened. And I seem to remember signing 500 copies of Wolverine an hour when I was in San Diego Con when it first came out. And of course, in those days, we didn't charge anything for it. And so now, yeah, I get a lot of Wolverine #1s to sign in 2 and 3 and 4. But uh, we did an event in May in a boardroom in a hotel in New York, where it was Claremont Miller, me, Tom Marzikowski, the letterer, Glynis Oliver, the colorist, and Roy Thomas, the editor in chief. And we sat there for 2 days. I personally signed, I think, 1,300 copies, plus, I don't know, like 40 remarks or something. So I keep wondering, will I die first, or will the last issue I'll ever sign happens before I die first? Like, will there be some unsigned when I've gone?
Right.
But I kept getting these Firestorms to sign, and I kept wondering why. What's the big deal with Firestorm? I didn't know that the TV show Legends of Tomorrow was on with Firestorm, which is what made him a big deal. So obviously, if you get your own TV show, your own movie, I mean, I think I could be very wrong on this thing. I think Men in Black sold a whopping 5,000 units when it came out. And then, of course, they made the movies, and of course, now everybody wants to read it and all that sort of stuff. Or Walking Dead. I don't know how big a hit Walking Dead was before the TV show, but of course, now it's a hit.
Yeah, it
So,
was. Yeah, it was even more so with that first few seasons, and it really took off after that, because I remember watching the I guess the value of the initial comics that came out. They were just through the roof when the first few seasons came out.
right,
Like
right.
I think it's so crazy how that people that don't know about that story before it's made into a TV show or a movie, they get in, like all of a sudden everything jumps, the value of things go up.
Well, I don't play video games. So I never heard of Fallout, or, I mean, I'd heard of Halo, but I'd never played it.
Mhm.
Fallout, Halo, and The Last of Us. And I like all those shows very, very much. So
Mhm.
but it's the same thing with comic books. I don't feel the need to go play those video games. I just enjoy the TV shows.
Yeah.
So when somebody goes to see a Wolverine or Spider-Man movie, I don't think people then go, I have to start reading Spider-Man comics, because they don't.
Mhm.
And the sad part is, I wish they could get contracts where they set up booths in comic and movie theaters selling Wolverine and Spider-Man and all that stuff. So as people leave, they go, "Oh, I'll take one,"
Oh.
But to actually
Ooh.
like search out it's one thing when a comic book was everywhere, newsstands and all that.
Mhm.
But now you have to search out a comic book store,
Yeah.
or I think there's some in Borders. I don't know anymore. Um,
Yeah.
there was
Ever since that, our we had a few local shops that had been around for quite a while, and ever since the boom, we've had a few more pop up, and they're actually all doing pretty well.
which I'm glad for. There
Mhm.
was a TV show in the early '60s called Naked City, there are 8 million stories in the naked city. And it had all sorts of wonderful Broadway actors and people just starting out in TV like Dustin Hoffman and all that. But the thing about it is they were filmed on location. So for the whole feeling of New York. So there's a scene where I won't say his name because I hate his politics. There's this actor in front of a newsstand on Central Park West, which is the big park in Manhattan.
Mhm.
And the newsstand has up above 10 copies of Amazing Fantasy 15, and it's like, wow, if you had only known.
I know, right?
Now, here's how weird I am. The director, Roman Polanski, he's married to a very beautiful woman. I think her name is Arita, whatever. So she's doing a movie. I'm watching this movie, and she does a nude scene, and there's this big piece of comic book art on the wall behind her. I'm going, what's the art? What's the art? It's like, forget the naked woman. What's the, and it was a very big piece of art. I suspect it might have been a piece of EC comic art,
Mhm.
but at that moment, I just wanted to know what was going on there. So,
Oh, that's crazy. Do you have a excuse me? Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on? Like, if you had to pick one, or do you have any?
yeah, I mean, I guess all the incarnations of the Justice League I did with Giffen and DeMatteis and McGuire. Justice League, I can't believe Justice League, formerly known as the Justice League. McGuire draws beautifully. Giffen and DeMatteis wrote great stuff. It was very funny, and when I was done, I thought it was a great looking comic book. I remember, see, those were the days where I would take the subway into DC, pick up the lettered pages because pages used to be lettered.
Mhm.
Now they're not because the computer superimposes over it. But so I'd pick up the lettered pages and I'd read them and I'd laugh out loud in the subway, people not knowing what the hell was going on. So yeah, the stuff was wonderful. Nobody told me it was coming. I was a reader like anybody else. I just happened to be inking it. So yeah, all those versions. Plus, if you go to my comicartfans.com, there's a story I did, which was a respectful telling of the crucifixion, and it's drawn by Rick Leonardi, and it's inked by me, and it was published by the American Bible Society. And so comicartfans.com, my gallery, it's called Bible. And I thought that was one of the best things I ever did.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's really cool. I had to check. I had not seen that. I will check that out. But
No one's seen it. No one's seen it.
no.
It barely got distributed. Whatever it wasn't was pulped. I just have to go from household to household in America and just show it to people.
Oh.
So yeah. But it's online at least.
Oh well, I'll make sure we can share that if it's online and
Sure.
get the word out. But I mean, you'll be here in El Paso for SoldierCon September 6th through the 8th. That's when the event's going on. Are you going to be, well, if you know, will you be here the 3 days or just the 2 days?
I'm there for the entire convention, of
Oh,
course.
nice.
I don't know if I leave that night or the next day, but I show up the day early to just get in acclimated. So since this is an Army program, kinda, these two guys come up to me at a convention in their, I don't know, 40s, 50s, big guy and a little guy. And the big guy says about the little guy, hey, my brother here is a general. I said, in the Army. I said, you a general? He said, yeah. I said, should I be impressed? He said, no. I said, give me 25. So.
Oh
So
man.
that's my, and he commissioned a Wolverine drawing, and of course he wanted a really bloody one.
Oh, nice.
A general.
A
Right.
general.
Right.
Joe, let me ask if people come to your table at any of the cons, especially here at for in El Paso for Soldier Con.
It's only polite when you come to my table to hand me $1 out of respect.
There you go.
Yeah,
Just
thank you.
FYI, everybody, have that dollar ready.
Just a buck. Just a buck.
That's I mean, and in a few of those we can get you what we see. There's a few iconic places you need to try when you come to El Paso, though, Joe. So you let me know what type of food are you into.
And if they're wearing a Wolverine or Gambit t-shirt, then they really owe me $1.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
So I'm already down $1 then, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, that's a deal.
So what was your
Got
question about coming to my table?
Oh, just like what can everyone expect, when they come to your table, just
Snappy patter, entertainment, a little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down my pants. You know, that's from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, but you probably never heard of it.
I
Anyway,
I
uh,
have actually.
right, right. You know, when I talk to people who are younger than me, and I guess by now the vast majority of people are younger than me, I have to reference things like, well, in the Johnny Carson show, you know who Johnny Carson was?
Yes,
When
sir.
Danny Kaye was, no, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Right. Johnny, right. And it says, and when Danny Kaye was at, Danny Kaye was. And then, it's like, do they know who I'm talking about? Or it's in the long lost to go.
Yeah.
But so I have prints for sale. I have an interesting print, which is all 4 of the Wolverine covers, but in the middle is this slash mark, and it's a white space for me to do a drawing of Wolverine in it. So you can have a print plus a piece of original art. I sign your comic books. I do commissions. I sell prints. I have original art for sale, and whatever you want, and I can draw, do commissions, anything you need.
And just so everyone knows, just a reminder to everybody, if you come to Joe's table with Wolverine or Gambit shirt, you owe him $1.
Or at least.
At least, yeah.
And if you have mutton chops, that's 2. So.
Well, we'll make sure we get the word out. And you a lot of your stuff, a lot of your information you have on Instagram and Facebook and things like that.
Yes.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I'll include all the link, all your information, that way they can follow you, check out your
Okay.
website, things like that. I'll put that in the
And
description
and
below.
people can also order commissions in advance, so I can just bring them with me and deliver them, and
Awesome.
probably do them a little better at home because I'm not rushing, because there's 9 other commissions waiting to get done.
Right.
So
And that information they can email you for it, correct? Or
yeah, on Instagram and Facebook. I
awesome.
mean, my email is joe@joerubinsteinart.com. Rubinstein, Rubinstein.
I'll make sure I put that information description below, Joe. And is there anything else you'd like to say, Arad, before we end today?
You guys are the Army?
What was that?
Are you guys at the Army base?
Yes, it's the Army base. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I say hoorah for that, or is
That's yeah, hoorah is the Army. Yes, sir.
okay? Because I almost said something of a different arm of the military, and you guys wouldn't have liked me.
We'll tell you the truth. Like, I think all bands of military are here except the Navy, if I'm correct.
Okay.
I even think Fort Bliss houses, like I think the German Air Force Base. They train. They have soldiers, and they do train here. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. And then up just north of us, we have White Sands Missile Range.
Yeah.
It is a crazy location here.
So the great inker Joe Sinnott was a CB, and he said, we hit the beach first to soften it up for the Marines. So,
oh,
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's just what Joe said. I mean, Dave Cochran was in. Yeah, I think Dave Cochran was in the Navy or the Air Force, and a lot of people served. So there is a commonality between comic book people and knowing what it's like to fight wars and serve the country before they draw little pictures. Well, the rumor is that the comic book writer Tom King, he supposedly had like a history with the CIA, so he can like add that to his story somehow.
Oh,
so I'm told he's very good, but I haven't read it recently.
No, that's
anyway. Okay, well, I hope I get to see people.
Yes.
You don't have to salute me. I work for a living. Okay.
But we will see you, Joe, at SoldierCon in El Paso, Texas, at the Starlight Event Center, September 6th through the 8th. And
right.
remember, again, just a reminder, everybody, if you're wearing a Wolverine Gambit shirt, or it's $1 automatically when you go to Joe's table.
But any women who are coming up to me in Rogue, that's free.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Joe, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you joining me today. And you have a good one. We'll see you at SoldierCon here in El Paso. And let me know if where you want to eat. I'll make some good suggestions.
Okay. I will.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.